Alright, so this is Jagger Naya bringing human identity and imaginations to the poetics of space. You'll probably notice me looking down here because I have my notes on the computer and it's easy for me to read and bring in some certain points. So, we can start off with the first quote is, "But much is to be gained from a psychologist of imagination if to social he adds cosmic reading. He comes to realize the cosmos molds man's kind, that it can transform a man of the hills into a man of islands and rivers, and that the house remodels man." So, for me, this means that a person is molded by the things around him for better adaptations. So, as man perceives the world in a way he can understand, he molds both the world the way he is most comfortable with. If we stay in one place long enough, we become that place. For example, this can be a job, this can be going to a new location because you moved. So, becoming the place changes our identity. Maybe perhaps this is dropping an accent, or maybe this is also learning to socialize in certain ways. So, as our identity changes, we have to change the world around us to better suit us in a comfortable way. Again, this could also be moving to a new house. So, throughout the book, the narrator speaks of the house of memories, dreams, and the homes of children. Now, when he said, most of the story he's saying house, but for this specific part, he's talking more of a children's home. So this was interesting because typically a person doesn't stay in the same house he grew up in. And for this case, a house would be a better choice of words, as a house is just a living residence rather than a home. Alright, different things make up a home for a person, be it people, memories, safety, or just whatever makes you happy in general. An example comes from my sister, who spends a lot of time with her boyfriend. And she goes to his house very often, and she seems to call her boyfriend's house her new home, specifically the home that she's happiest in. This does irritate me a bit because it makes me feel like chopped liver, but it makes me realize that maybe a home is a place that one perceives as happiness. For my sister, her boyfriend, and whatever aspects make his house a house, this is making it a new home for her. So, with her happiness, she's adapted to this new place and molded it into something more comforting for her. Or maybe something that was in our original house. She's molded it to this new place as something better and comforting. So, the narrator also seems to want to show that the place of childhood is more than just a house, but a true home. Even if it does not last long, because typically a person moves out of this house or a person buys a new house later in life. So, regardless of this change in a home, the home is still filled with memories, be it the old home or the new home where he's bringing these old memories with him. So, the narrator determines that a house is both unity and a complexity when it comes to memories. So, different things trigger different memories or sensations, but it can all still lead to one place. So, an example that I made up is maybe the smell of cooking bread. So, this is a physical trigger, and it can be experienced in a wide variety of places. You can go to a pawn shop, or you can go to a bakery or something and have the smell of bread. However, all of these different experiences of you smelling bread, it all leads back to the memories, or the house, and more specifically, an intimate place known as a home. So this intimacy is where one starts to build their own environment in a way they can understand and perceive. The author of the story quotes, "Imagination augments the value of reality." Now, for me, this is saying that our imagination holds triggers, and they put these triggers to convert it in a way we can understand the environment. Okay, another specific way. The imagination converts it into a way that we are most comfortable with. Wherever they may find these triggers, such as the smell of cooking bread, a person can use this adaptation to a new lifestyle. This can be maybe the person who smells cooking bread finds a job at a bakery. If they like this job because of the intimate memories that they have in their old household, they can apply it to somewhere and help them adapt to a new, more comfortable lifestyle. So, finding comfort in a certain lifestyle that's both portrayed in the Poetics of Space and the poem that I read called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. It tells of a character daydreaming that he is lonely, but he finds content in a field of daffodils. So, these flowers trigger a pleasant memory that he perceives himself not as lonely, but in solitude. Remember, loneliness means that you have no one around you or someone that acknowledges your existence. However, being in solitude means that you are acknowledged that you do exist, but you just want to be away for the time. A lot of introverts like myself would understand this, so my social battery runs on, well, a battery. So after a while, they need to separate from the self. This could be to think, this could be to recap on whatever you're going over. But anyway, these flowers trigger a pleasant memory that he perceives in himself. And the solitude is where he feels more comfortable in, but it can be really anywhere. You can be in solitude in a public place, not talk to anyone. And this kind of contradicts what I was saying earlier, that a house is filled with memories and filled with people. But sometimes, like I said, memories can be triggered in other places. So no matter what the environment may be, this person finds his solitude in his daydreams, and more specifically, he feels at home in these daffodils with his environment. And so another quote is, "I should say, the house shelters daydreaming, the house protects the dreamer, the house allows one to dream in peace." So, another quote from the story, and for me, the interpretation is, a house or a home is used to protect one's own personal dreams. It says, it can also be thought that, with another quote that comes in later in the story, "We comfort ourselves by reliving memories of protection. Something close must retain our memories while leaving them their original value as images. Memories of the outside world will never have the same tonality as those of home, and, by recalling these memories, we add to our stores of dreams. We are never real historians, but always near poets, and our emotions is perhaps nothing but an expression of poetry that was lost." So, where all this points out is to perhaps a house of memories or the imagination that helps mold our identities, helps us to understand the soul. Now, the soul, they say that's one of the easiest but one of the most complicated things to understand. One, because no one can understand it but ourselves. And two, you can't really give an interpretation of your own soul to someone else. So, because our memories and our dreams are all our own, all the things that help us identify ourselves in a way, that makes up your own soul. So, a house can hold memories and it can teach us something about ourselves. So, back to "I wandered as lonely as a cloud," the author says that he felt lonely, but he learned that once he took comfort in solitude, that this was teaching him something about his soul. His own solitude brought a part of his identity, and, again, this told him more about his soul and maybe something he had either forgotten or maybe something new he'd remembered. So, the author was molded by something around him. As I said, a person is molded by their environment. And so he perceived it in a way that he can understand. So, this environment around him, he's using these triggers or these other aspects to remember something about him and to understand the world around him. And it was more comfortable to be in solitude amongst the daffodils. Because once he's adapted it into a way that he can understand, he can go and live amongst this environment in any way that he chooses.